Welcome, everyone. This is Austin. This is Flashpoint. Your relationship turnaround may start right here. Hold on. It's not that kind of a show. Let's talk about relationships, shall we? Why are relationships so hard? But wait a minute, they're not hard. Relationships should be easy. No, they're hard. They're challenging. They're difficult. Let's dive into this topic today. I'm excited to bring this to you. This has been a request for many of you to say, hey, talk about relationships. You know, relationships, it's that place, that thing, that dynamic, that thing in our lives that is always present. No matter what we're doing, relationships are there. And do we need to talk about them more? Do we need to cultivate them more? I say yes. I'm going to give you some great perspective today, and I want to hear from you. You know, are relationships just hard, and that's just the way it is? Or is there a better way? Can we go deeper and create more fulfillment, even in the relationship that we have? All right, let me set the show up. All right, so here we go. Say hello, and let's set this show up today the right way, if you will. And we set the show up by starting with this. This is the hourglass that simply reminds us that we cannot live in the past. We may go there to learn some lessons. We can reflect, of course, but we don't want to live there. And we don't want to think too much about the future other than that vision that fires us up and excites us. In other words, we don't want to worry. We want to avoid worrying about the future. And what we want to do is dial into this moment. And that's what I want you to do today. I want you to get something today from this. And maybe there's something that you want to share today that is maybe something stoked you, provoked you, evoked you, and you want to share it about relationships in your experience. You know, what is your experience? Are relationships just flat out hard and that's it? Or is there a better way? Can we create more fulfillment, more joy, more love, more like all the juice? Can we experience it all? And I'm going to share some of my personal story as I get into this. So I am going to go a little bit here into the past just to give you some context on why I'm doing this today. Now, the other thing we share is the Thomas Edison light bulb, simply as a reminder that, you know, no matter how, every attempt means something. You may feel the failure, right? Even in a relationship, you may feel like, oh my gosh, I messed that up. I failed. I screwed up. I made mistakes. But every attempt, if we're open, is a teaching tool. And that's why the Thomas Edison quote you probably heard it 10,000 times. I did not fail. I successfully created 10,000 ways in which the light bulb could not be created. So this is an actual replica. I purchased this at the site that the light bulb was invented. So there's that. And then this is for you. We have the cowbell. And the cowbell is to highlight great moments throughout this show. And that's up to you. You type in the word cowbell and we will pull out the cowbell to augment lessons. Have some fun. Now, let's jump into relationships because I know this is a big topic and it's going to resonate with a lot of people. And I know you probably have a lot to share. So I want to dive in. First, I want to tell you that my story is that I have failed so many times in relationships. And I'm going to get into why I believe that is for me. So for me, relationships were hard. You know, they were hard. And the good news is it caused me to go deeper, to learn more, to figure out what the heck am I doing, to look in the mirror and to really dig and find out what the heck was going on. So I'm going to share some of that story about my relationships. But what I want to do first, I want to open up with some perspective for you, okay? Because to me, perspective is everything. There's a quote that my friend Lisa shared with me. I think her aunt shared it with her. It says, what you see depends upon where you're standing. What you see depends upon where you're standing. So if you're standing in a place of relationships are hard, I've failed over and over again, you're going to believe that relationships are hard, right? But if you're in a great relationship right now, you might be like, relationships aren't hard, right? But therein lies the paradox, and therein lies the place where we can learn, right? In the extremes, we can learn, we can distill. What are the lessons that I can learn today, no matter where my relationships are. So let's dive in. When I was training with Tony Robbins and Tony Robbins' partner, Chloe Madonna's, this was something that I learned, and it was like, whew, it was like that moment of like that cowbell moment where I was like, man, that really makes sense. So as you're listening to this, you're going to find yourself in one of 6 places, okay? One of 6 places. Let's start. Number 1, love and passion. It's the juice that I talked about. You feel it. You're excited. You have that deep love, and you're able to cultivate passion through the polarity with your partner. Not toxic polarity. No, no, no. Not toxic polarity, but healthy polarity that fuels both of your energy, that ignites you, that causes you to give more, to love more, right? True love expands out. It doesn't contract. True love expands. So love and compassion, number 1. Number 2, love, but no passion. Love and friendship. And sometimes this is the hardest place to be, because when you have love and you have friendship, it's hard to leave. It's hard to make a change because you got no passion. But the good news is, if you had passion and you find yourself in a state of love and kind of friendship lukewarm, if you had passion at some point, you could get it back. Okay, number 3. Number 3, it's neutral. Number 3, you're like roommates. You're like, hey, how are you? How are you? It's like ships passing in the night. It's neutral. And I don't want anybody to be there, right? We don't want to be neutral. And this leads to the next thing, because if you're neutral too long and it's just like this, and sometimes it gets like toxic, right? The next stage is you're plotting your escape. You're plotting your escape, and you're just waiting for the right time, the right situation. I'm going to get out of this. This is not good anymore. It's changed, and I want to get out. That's plotting your escape. Number 5, you're not in a relationship. I am not in a relationship, but I want to be in a relationship. It's my heart's truest desire. I deserve it. I have love. I have passion. I want to give it to the right person, but I haven't been able to attract that person to date. So what's blocking you? What belief may you have cultivated unknowingly that's preventing that relationship? Number 6, I'm not in a relationship and I don't want to be in a relationship. Relationships are too hard. I don't want, or rather, I'm good on my own. I don't want to be in a relationship. I'm good right here. Leave me alone. But let's face it, how many of you want stage number 1? Love and passion. You're like, yeah, give me that. That's what I want, right? That's what I'm talking about. If only it were that easy, right? If only it were that easy to say, man, I just want that love and passion. But some of us have never had it. You may have had passion, right? You may have had the passion, but when the conflict came in, right? How do you know if love is there? Because when the conflict comes in, it's how you handle the conflict. And by the way, it doesn't mean you always stay together. And therein lies the challenge. And I've worked with couples, and I have an unconventional approach when I'm working with couples, because I always say, I'm not here to guarantee that you're going to be together. But what I want to guarantee is that you both grow. Because isn't it important that we grow? Because we attract at the level we are currently at. We are attracting where we are. I'm going to dive into my own personal story. And by the way, what do you think? Hello, Giselle. Let me just stop and take a pause and say hello to you. Jenna is taking notes. I'm going to take notes too, because I want to hear from you. Anilda is here. Hello, Anilda. Hello, Giselle. Welcome to the party. Emilio, welcome to the party. We are having a little party here, and we're talking about relationships. And can we get better? Are they too hard? Let's continue. I have dealt with my own personal story. I'm going to talk about me. I didn't grow up with a healthy model. I love my parents. My dad, God rest his soul. My mom's with me. I love my parents, but they didn't give me a healthy model. I grew up with a lot of chaos, a lot of divorce. Matter of fact, throughout my relationships, like if I look through my family, there's really not a good model there. So here I am, unconscious. And what I wrote down in preparation of this show, and this is kind of deep, but it seems to me the higher your self-worth, the better you're going to attract. And I'm going to get real here for a moment, because when I get real, things change. If I just kind of play it lukewarm, no one's going to change. So for me, if I don't have high belief in, and by the way, if you have a great relationship, you have high belief, please share. We want to hear from you. But for me, I didn't have high belief in myself because of where I came from. And that was a story, but it was a story that was based on something that happened, but I took the story and cultivated it over years, right? Unknowing to me, a lot of it was unknowing. So I'm coming from a place of lack. And then what happens? I'm coming from scarcity. And when I come from scarcity, I'm going to resonate at that level, and I might attract someone else who's also dealing with scarcity. And we may not be compatible. And we may create a lot of havoc in our lives, especially because one of the key things to relationships, I believe, is when they end, if they're not meant to be permanent. And by the way, that's reality. Not all relationships, as much as we want to believe, well, it's forever after. We're happily ever after. Believe me, I love happily ever after in terms of like, this is the person you're going to spend your life with, but it doesn't always pan out that way, does it? I mean, come on, you're on here, you're real. And by the way, let's look at the numbers. And by the way, if you go and look at the numbers, right? Divorce, relationship satisfaction, I do believe it's gotten better. I do believe it's gotten better, but isn't it still difficult? Isn't it still like, what is that? Right around 50%. And then second marriages are like 60%. And anytime it goes up, because we keep repeating the same thing. We keep thinking, oh, it was that person's fault. But, you know, I can share with my story again. I go through and I end up failing in relationships, you know, and the one thing that I really learned, and that's why I said I took the long road, right? It's nice if you have a great relationship and you came in and you figured it out, good on you, right? That wasn't my story. My story was I took the long road, and I'm still going to arrive on time, and so are you. But I ended up having to really stop and go, what's my part in this? Not they did that, but, right? Oh, they did that, but, or I did this. I'm sorry, I did this, but they did that, right? So when I coach people, I say there's no but. There's no but at the end. There's simply, what did you do? How did you show up? Did you not show up? And for me, I had a tendency to pull back. You know, what's your modality, right? When things start to, right? When there's that conflict, see, healthy couples will use conflict as an opportunity to go deeper. But when you have two people that are dealing with low self-esteem or low lack of worth, when conflict goes up, what happens? It can end up not so good, right? It can end up, and then we don't even part in a healthy way. It's toxic. See, conflict is the great reveal. Conflict is the great reveal in our relationships. Conflict is the opportunity to go deeper. And some of the therapies that I study, there's one therapy that says, when the crap hits the fan, when it's over, when it's done, you know, she did that, he did this, you're not going to believe what happened, right? According to this therapy, right after that is the moment the relationship takes root and has an opportunity to grow. But the sad truth is we don't typically get there. And what, you know, I could tell you, for me, it's compatibility is a huge factor. It's going to be a lot easier when you're compatible with the person, you know, when you understand the rhythm of each person. So think about your relationship, or even where you are, your past relationships. Thank you, Jenna. I appreciate this. That I can love someone but not be with them. That is so liberating. My God, think about the pressure we bring to relationships. It's, you know, it's now or forever. It's like the song, right? You know, before we go any further, will you love me forever? You know, and there's the song right here. He's like, he says, yeah, I'll love you forever. Right. It's like this pressure. And listen, we want to aspire for that. But if we bring the pressure to the dance, like it's now or never, it's forever or never, think about that pressure, right? We get there through evolving and growing together. We don't like, it's not right in the beginning. I mean, and a lot of times we want that. But again, what I focus on is growth. I want you to grow. I want you to absolutely grow. Turn the but to a period. I did this, but should be I did this, not but. Exactly. Take responsibility for your part. That is so difficult. And one of the things that we focus on is emotional intelligence. And by the way, I'm going to share. And by the way, I only got 2 hearts. Only 2 hearts here. Okay. We're talking about love. We're talking about relationships. We only got 2 hearts. Okay. What I want to offer you is we're going to do a Zoom call Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. And we are going to get behind the curtain and we're going to have some real conversation about relationships, because everywhere we turn is a relationship. Our intimate relationship, our family relationships, our relationships is our place to give and grow. If you think about it that way, Gigi, our relationships is our place to give and our place to grow. Let me share this link here with you. And I want to hear from you. Are relationships hard? Am I talking to, like, am I the only one? Like, let me hear from you. Where are you at? What do you think about relationships? Are they just too hard today? The complexity of dating today, if you're coming up, the complexity of re-entering the dating world, the complexity of I'm in one of those, I'm in like stage 2 or 3, like there's love, there's no passion, or I'm plotting my escape. Like, what reality are you faced with right now? And are you focused on mutual growth, or are you just focused on yourself? Or there's been too much damage done and I need to get out. So let me share with you, next Tuesday at 8 o'clock, I want you to join me. I'm going to put the link in here, and we are going to, I'm going to go to Facebook here because I got rules and regs, but you can register for this. You can join me next Tuesday, and other people we're going to have on. I'm inviting other people onto the program, and we're going to go into a Zoom call, and we're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about the thing that doesn't seem to get enough attention, or at least it usually gets negative attention, right? When things are bad. When things are bad, then we talk about relationships. But can we be conscious now? Can we bring more light now? Can we go for that stage 1, love and passion? And it's not like we always get there, but can we create it? Can we work? Can we cultivate it in our journey? Let me grab your shares here. The word but is actually not a good word to use. It discredits the first half of the sentence you say. And think about it. When you've been in a relationship and you've been wronged, what do you say? Well, I did this, but so-and-so did that, right? And when I went through like my relationships that failed, I had to get my butt out of the way, because ultimately it's what I did. And that's really difficult to do, but it's necessary to grow. And what I tell couples and people that I work with in relationships is that if you look at 100%, right? You got 100% of the pie. And we're talking about whose fault it is or who's responsible, right? If I am 10%, if I did 10% wrong, and I know it unequivocally, that person was 90% in the wrong. This is what emotional intelligence is. I show up and say, here's my 10%. This is my 10%. And I did not mean to hurt you, but I realized this is what I did. And I want to apologize for my 10%. And zip it. That is incredible emotional strength and power in any relationship. And it's very difficult, and it's an ongoing process. So if you would like to improve your relationships, if you would like to strengthen your emotional intelligence, If you would like to just flat out improve your communication all the way around, join us on the Zoom call. We're doing this complimentary, and let's talk about relationships. Let's improve our most important relationships. Can you do it? Will you commit to it today? We need a cowbell. So let me hear what your shares. Are relationships too hard today? What are the numbers? How many relationships fail? Think about businesses, right? Businesses that start, their chances of failure. What about relationships? When you say go, when you say yes, what are the chances of failure in a relationship? Can you experience love and passion? Have you ever experienced love and passion together? See, a lot of times you experience passion, but then there's, and you think it's love, but that you realize that you're not even, like, it was chemical, biological. And then you realize, oh my God, I got nothing in common with this person. Right? Or, oh my God, we're so compatible, but I'm just not feeling the passion, the juice. Where are you in your relationships? What stage do you find yourself? Let me know, and I'm going to share something with you here, because I want to offer you something here, and I want to share my story a little bit about. I got a little bit of time here, which is great. So first of all, register for the Zoom call Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. And if you really want to improve your relationships, take a chance, right? Come into the space. Let's talk about it. I'll talk about some tips on communication. I've been on thousands of interactions, with people, thousands of people, and just learning themes and ways to communicate that are effective, what people respond to, what they don't respond to, and taking that and applying it close to home, right? In our most intimate relationships. Like, instead of going, hey, you, get over here, I want to talk to you. Or you just make assumptions, there's ways that we can approach. You can change a relationship today. Giselle, let me just grab your share here. I appreciate this. Thanks, Jenna, for that. You can register for next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. We're going to have some real and raw conversation about relationships. Relationships aren't necessarily hard, but they do take work, which is the part that can be deemed hard. And I agree with you. And I think the hard part, like if I look at myself, the hard part is my personal work, because it's the work that I need to do to grow. Right? Or I'm waiting on the external to kind of show up and fix it all. Like some external person's going to show up and be like, this is it. It's magic. And granted, we want chemistry, but it's a place for us to grow, right? It's a place for us to grow. So my journey was, I like subconsciously, everybody was up here and I was down here, feeling like something was wrong with me. I lacked. So when I would go into a relationship, when the conflict came up, it would immediately make me feel like I'm not worthy. I wasn't valuable. I wasn't worthy. I viewed conflict as a negative thing. I didn't view conflict as a positive thing. So I would go internal. And when I went internal, it would cause a lot of problems in my relationships, and it made it really hard for me. And this is why, I say I took the long road, especially with relationships. And I talk to many people that go through difficult times in relationships. And if we could magically measure everyone right now, like if we could, I know there's studies out there and there's things, but if we could we had a magic wand that could just measure the universe right now in relationships, put in a number. What do you think the satisfaction level is in relationships? Let's put a number in. So on a scale of 1 to 10, ready? We just measured the entire universe. We have a special device. It just measured the entire universe, entire world, Earth. We're on, planet Earth. And we said, what's the relationship satisfaction? 10 meaning they're awesome. The world has a 10 relationship. Number 1 meaning relationships are terrible right now. Where do you say relationships are in your own gut feeling? Where do you think relationships are on a scale of 1 to 10? Type in that number. And let me just grab your shares here. So many aren't willing to self-inspect. Say a lot without saying a lot. Exactly. Relationship, and I'm gonna ring the cowbell. No. Ooh, okay. Relationships is a great place to learn and grow personally. Absolutely. So for me, my journey was to really dig into my limitations. What is holding me back? Not only from my relationships, but living a more fulfilling life. So we created the 9 questions to identify and remove limiting beliefs about yourself. Because if you're dealing with limitations in yourself, how's that going to show up in your relationship? Well, I know for me, it caused a lot of problems. So Michelle is guessing a 5 because I hear many people say they stay in their relationship out of convenience. Is that true? Is that true or true? They stay in a relationship out of convenience. What do you think? What do you think? Well, I think there's some truth to that. I absolutely think there's some truth to that. Love the limitation test. Yes. So I'm gonna post that here. This is the 9 questions to identify and remove limiting beliefs. I'm going to start marketing this more because the impact that it's had on people has been very profound. And I'm going to have some videos queued up later. I'll share that with you. But the 9 questions to identify and remove limiting beliefs, this was a autobiographical for me because I had those limitations and they showed up in my relationships, which made relationships very difficult for me. But the good news is, this is why I'm passionate about doing this work. You know, this is why I'm passionate about reaching people, saying, yes, you can have that great relationship. You can experience fulfillment. You can experience love and passion. So Michelle, yes, take this opportunity. Go through the 9 questions. I personally guarantee you will have a breakthrough. You will have an awakening. You will uncover some limiting belief that has been hiding behind the curtain. It's the monster in the closet that you don't even know is there, that is causing you to sabotage your relationships, your success, your growth. And I went like, this is autobiographical for me. And that's why I'm bringing it to you, because see, the good news is if I didn't go through all this pain, I wouldn't be doing this work, right? If it was easy, if relationships were easy for me, I wouldn't be doing this work. If my success journey was easy, I wouldn't be doing this work. But there is easier ways. You understand? See, it's like when you know how the magician does it, it's not magic anymore. Like when the magician shows you the trick, it's not magic anymore. There's a way to do it, but it does take self-work. And the work that we do on ourselves is going to translate when we show up and that person shows up and they want to start a relationship with us. And here's more good news. What I found is that certain relationships will make it because one person has the emotional intelligence, has the emotional aptitude, love, and strength to show up and teach the other person how to love, right? They say the way to love, you love in the way you were taught to love. So when you show up in your relationship, you love the way you were taught to love. So how are you taught to love? You see, I told you my story. I grew up and a lot of conflict that ended up being toxic. So how did I learn to love? Conflict, but then there's a part in my brain went, I don't want that. And I would just shut down. So I was either people pleasing, right? So people pleasing, because I know what conflict did in my life, in my family relationships. So I would people please to prevent the conflict from happening. But what happens? You can't hold it back, can you? And then it comes rushing through. And then what I would do is I would just go internal and shut down. Let me get your shares here. We're going to wrap it up. Oh my God, I'm way over time. Woo! I just went over time. Sorry, E360. Please forgive me. I love you. Please forgive me. I got to bounce. Please register for the Zoom call next Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. This is Austin. This is Flashpoint. Let's build better relationships, and let's start now. Bye for now, everyone.